watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Gloria, and I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, amid gains in Tikrit, Iraqi forces accused of war crimes. And a report says U.S.-led strikes in Syria killed over 100 civilians. And in Somalia, U.S. drone strike kills al-Shabaab leader and 2 others. And 2 aid workers contract Ebola amid uptick in Sierra Leone. And a report says world powers mull UN resolution to lift Iran sanctions. And after years of refusal, Swedish prosecutors to question Assange in London. And Ferguson, anarchist race baiters hold candlelight vigil after police shot. The report says FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force tracked Black Lives Matter protest, and Secret Service agents drove through bomb investigation in alleged DUI. And a report says accused Chilean torturer taught for Pentagon for 13 years. And Palestinian activist Razmia Odeh sentenced to 18 months for immigration fraud. And 27 arrested at Children's Place headquarters in protest over factory collapse. And Brown students protest alleged role of money in sexual assault case. GVTV News is broadcast on Grass Valley Television, division of Rural Counties Television Network, whose focus is on community involvement. We also air on NCTV. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, Iraqi officials say they are close to victory in an Iranian-backed offensive to reclaim the city of Tikrit from the self-proclaimed Islamic State Muslim terrorists. Iraqi forces and Shiite militias have reclaimed swaths of the city without the aid of the U.S. airstrikes. Gains come from ABC News reports Iraqi military units trained and armed the United States under investigation for war crimes. Videos and photos say something like that, whatever. A Syrian opposition group reports airstrikes by U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State Muslim terrorists have killed more than 100 civilians. Syrian Network for Human Rights said dozens of civilians have been killed in strikes targeting oil refineries, while 51 were killed in late December when U.S. aircraft struck a building housing an ISIS prison at Al-Bab. U.S. drone strike in Somalia has reportedly killed a senior member of the militant group al-Shabaab, along with 2 other people. Unnamed U.S. and Kenyan officials told the Associated Press the strike killed Aden Garar, who was accused of helping to plan the 2013 mass shooting at the Westgate Mall in Nairobi. And Sierra Leone has seen an uptick in Ebola cases in certain areas as the total number of deaths from the outbreak has topped 10,000. Liberia released its last Ebola patient from treatment last week, but Guinea and Sierra Leone are still struggling to contain the virus. World Health Organization Assistant Director General Bruce Alward said waning attention poses a major risk. Said, in terms of the risks, the single biggest one probably is the risk the world stops looking at the disease, stops looking at these countries. We talk often about the steep drop in the cases there have been. The only thing that has dropped more quickly and more steeply has been the new contributions and financing to the program. Meanwhile, a worker from U.S. and aid group Partners in Health and a British military aid worker have both contracted Ebola in Sierra Leone. British aid worker has arrived in London for treatment, while the U.S. worker is due to arrive at Bethesda, Maryland. World powers have reportedly taken open talks in possible UN Security Council resolutions to lift sanctions on Iran if the nuclear deal is reached. According to Reuters, talks between the United States, Iran, Britain, China, France, Russia, and Germany are taking place ahead of resumption of nuclear talks next week. A UN resolution could render the nuclear deal with Iran legally binding, making it harder for Republicans in Congress to undo it. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has criticized this week's open letter Republican senators threatening to nix any nuclear deal and said the team assigned by President Hassan Rouhani to the talks constitute good, reliable, and sympathetic individuals who are trying to secure the country's interest. Of course, I'm concerned because the other side, the U.S., is into deception, trickery, and backstabbing. Funny coming from him, huh? Swedish prosecutors have issued a request to question WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in London on sexual assault allegations following pressure from Swedish courts and repeatedly requests by Assange's lawyer. Assange, who has never been charged with allegations, has been holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London since 2012. Fearing a Swedish arrest warrant would lead to extradition to the United States, Assange's lawyers have asked Swedish prosecutors to question him in London for more than 4 years. Anarchist race baiters in Ferguson, Missouri, held a candlelight vigil Thursday after shooting of 2 police officers by an unknown gunman. Both officers have been released from the hospital. The shots were fired during a protest outside the Ferguson Police Department, but police say the shooter was about 125 yards away. Attorney General Eric Holder, the thief, condemned the shooting, which came on the heels of the Justice Department probe on rampant racial bias by Ferguson police. And he said what happened last night was a pure ambush. This was not someone trying to bring healing to Ferguson. This is a damn punk, a punk who was trying to sow discord in an area that is trying to get its act together and trying to bring together a community that has fractured for far too long. This really disgusting and cowardly attack have been intended to unravel any sense of progress that exists, but I hope that it does not, in fact, happen. An email obtained by the Intercept News site reveals members of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force tracked details of the Black Lives Matter protest in the Mall of America in Minnesota last December. An email from St. Paul police officer and task force member David Langfellow cites a confidential human source who confirmed the date and time of the protest. FBI spokesperson denied agency has any interest in Black Lives Matter campaign based on false narrative. New details have emerged from 2 Secret Service agents accused of drunk driving and White House security barricade, driving into a White House security barricade. Washington Post reports the agents allegedly drove through an active investigation directly next to a suspicious package which had been placed in the ground by a woman who claimed it was a bomb. While officers at the scene wanted to arrest the agents and administer a sobriety test, a superior ordered their release without the test. Secret Service new director Joseph Clancy was appointed last month on the scandal over the White House security breach, and he learned the incident 5 days later. Agents have been identified as Mark Connolly, and second in command on Obama's security detail, and George Ogilvy, a top supervisor in Washington's field office, who issued a statement last year touting the agency's zero-tolerance policy for drinking. McClatchy's newspaper reports an accused torturer who had served as a member of the Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet. Secret police worked at the Pentagon top university for 13 years. James Garcia, something, I can't pronounce his name, helped with the U.S.-backed coup, brought Pinochet to power in September 11, 1973. An alleged victim of Garcia, Cavarrabias, I think it is, said he used to wield a horsewhip while presiding over sexual torture and electric shocks. Despite repeated complaints over Garcia's past, officials in the State Department and Pentagon let him teach at the William J. Perry Center for Hemispheric Defense Studies, while immigration officials let him remain in the United States. Palestinian activist accused of immigration fraud has been sentenced to 18 months in prison. A U.S. judge in Detroit called Razmia Oda a terrorist as he sentenced her for concealing her conviction on bomb charges by an Israeli military court more than 40 years ago. Oda says her confession to the bombing was obtained through torture and sexual assault in an Israeli custody. Her supporters say she was targeted by U.S. authorities over her support for Palestinian liberation. Oda served as associate director of the Arab American Action Network in Chicago. Has lived in the United States for 20 years. She will be deported after her prison term. Goodbye. In Sakaris, New Jersey, more than 24 people have been arrested at the offices of this clothing retailer, the Children's Place. They called for a compensation for victims of the Rana Plaza factory collapse in Bangladesh. The Children's Place is among the retailers whose products were found in the factory's ruins. Protesters say they have contributed $450,000 of the $30 million owed to the workers' families. Next month marks the 2-year anniversary of the disaster. It killed more than 1,100 people. Bangladesh activist Koboni Akhtar stood at the 18-year-old Hemi Begum, a survivor of the collapse, and called on the Children's Place to pay. Brown University is facing protest over its handling of the sexual assault of 2 students. Said their drinks were laced with date rape drugs. In a fraternity party, Brown suspended the fraternity Phi Kappa Psi, and the accused students hired his own expert who questioned toxicology tests ordered by the school, leading to revelations Brown had selected laboratories that in a history of inaccuracy. Meanwhile, a second student accused of sexual assault one of the women was found not responsible after Brown said the woman's foggy memory, a symptom of drugging, made it difficult to disprove her alleged assailant's account. On Wednesday, 400 students marched in silence through campus with dollar bills on their mouths bearing the red 9, a reference to Title IX. Brown is one of the 94 colleges under federal investigation for possible violation of Title IX due to handling of sexual violence. And that's it for World News today. Now thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. That's right, it's time for the police blotter and pictures in the blotter. Now from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. These public records are obtained from daily logs issued from Nevada County law enforcement. Grass Valley Police Department on Wednesday, 8:18 a.m., a caller from a business in 100 block of West Empire Street reported finding a bullet hole in a window. It appeared to be from a pellet gun that broke a pane. 9:13 a.m., a caller from Butler Street and Penstock Drive requested extra patrol due to heavy speeding. 11:59 a.m., a caller from 100 block of West McKnight Way reported a shoplifter in custody. 1:52 p.m., a caller from 800 block of Forest Glade Circle reported theft of a bicycle from a front yard. And 3:13 p.m., a man from Highway 20 and Mill Street reported someone hit him from behind and they were in an argument, possibly about to become physical. CHP responded. 3:45 p.m., a caller from Highway 49 and West McKnight Way reported a woman driving and drinking from an open container with a small child in the vehicle. And 5:02 p.m., a caller from Tinloy and Bank Streets reported a man drinking from an open container and causing a disturbance. And 6:44 p.m., a caller from 600 block of Leduc Street reported hearing a gunshot. 7:16 p.m., a man from 700 block of Taylorville Road reported an assault. At 9:33 p.m., a woman from 200 block of Depot Street reported neighbors threatening her and attacking the vehicle she was in. At 10:40 p.m., a woman from 400 block of Henderson Street reported she shocked herself twice on a piece of metal protruding from a light pole. In Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Wednesday, 8:35 a.m., a caller from 11,000 block of Lake Shore North reported a fraud with a loss of $3,000. At 8:46 a.m., a caller from 13,000 block of Clancy Way reported a phone scam. 8:54 a.m., a caller from 17,000 block of Greenhorn Road reported being bitten by wildlife last night. 10:17 a.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Chalk Bluff Road reported a woman in a vehicle tried to drive through the gate, got wedged between the fence and a tree. She was arrested on suspicion of trespassing. 11:11 a.m., a caller from 10,000 block of Goodyear Drive reported trespassing and possible squatter. No one was located. 11:40 a.m., a caller from 25,000 block of Table Meadow Road reported a sick skunk which was not located. 12:01 p.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Black Road reported theft of a trailer. At 12:20 p.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Pascali Road reported theft from a residence. And 12:41 p.m., a caller from 13,000 block of Greenhorn Road reported hearing a loud boom. Nothing suspicious was located. And 1:04 p.m., a caller from 11,000 block of Comby Road reported a large tree snapped and took out a power line. 2:02 p.m., a caller from 11,000 block of Wilson Road reported a neighbor was stealing firewood. No crime was found to have occurred. And 3:48 p.m., caller requested a welfare check on Gold Mist Lane. 3 juveniles were reported to be living in trailers by themselves, one of whom was a 3-year-old child. They were malnourished. There were reportedly no running water, electricity, or working bathrooms in the trailers. CPS was on standby. A report was taken. 3:56 p.m., a caller from 15,000 block of Kilham Circle reported receiving possibly fraudulent checks. 4:03 p.m., a caller from 10,000 block of Parkview Lane reported burglary with guns taken. 4:50 p.m., a caller from 16,000 block of Airport Road reported burglary with forced entry. 5:54 p.m., a caller from Lake Wildwood Drive reported a golf cart accident with injuries. And 6:29 p.m., a caller from Squirrel Creek Road and Adam Avenue reported a person discussing stealing a vehicle. The person also made a drug deal. 7:17 p.m., a man from 19,000 block of Windmill Lane reported that he was trying to leave and a woman jumped in his vehicle and then laid down behind his vehicle. She then let him leave. In Nevada City Police Department on Wednesday, 5:59 p.m., a caller from 200 block of Commercial Street reported a man lying on the sidewalk, unresponsive. He was arrested on suspicion of being drunk in public. And that's it for the blotter today. Now, thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's local news headlines, car chase ends in driver's arrest. And man reportedly pulls gun on repo employee. A man who reportedly fled from Nevada County Sheriff's deputies at a high speed, fishtailing around curves to the point where he was up on 2 wheels, ended up in county jail Wednesday night. Deputy patrolling on Squirrel Creek Road spotted a vehicle with the taillight out and a license plate light out at about 11:30 p.m., said Sheriff Keith Royal. vehicle reportedly rolled through a stop sign at Walker Drive, then through a second stop sign at Adam Avenue before accelerating quickly, then failed to yield when a deputy attempted a traffic stop. The driver, identified as Jesse Thayer Smith, was driving recklessly, swerving across the center divider and fishtailing through curves at least twice, Royal said. He went up on two wheels once, Royal said, adding that he regained control but subsequently hit a tree and ended up in some bushes across the road. Smith reportedly told the arresting deputy that he didn't know why he didn't stop, but that he hadn't wanted to go to jail and that he was all, it's Dutch with an F, up right now. He admitted to having a methamphetamine pipe hidden in his boot, had a small amount of marijuana and a box of pills not been identified in the backpack. He also reportedly admitted to having ingested meth. Smith, 37, was booked into county jail on suspicion of reckless evasion of a peace officer, driving on a suspended license, being under the influence of a controlled substance, and possessing drug paraphernalia. He was being held in lieu of a $33,500 bail. Smith has a lengthy criminal record in Nevada County dating back to theft charge in 1997. Smith was charged with vehicle theft and reckless evasion in 2001, and with vehicle theft again in 2003, and was sentenced to 6 years in the two cases. In 2009, he was charged with driving under the influence after reportedly overturning his pickup truck and was sentenced to 120 days in jail. In July 2014, he was arrested after reportedly threatening and assaulting a neighbor and found to be driving under the influence. Criminal charges apparently were not filed in that case. In January this year, he was arrested and charged with possessing drug paraphernalia and being under the influence of a controlled substance. He is set to appear in that case on March 23rd. Might have a long-term viewer here. A man objecting to his car being repossessed reportedly pulled a gun on a tow truck driver and ended up in county jail Wednesday night. Two employees from the repo company had gone to the address at 20,000 block of Scotts Flat Road at about 11:30 p.m. and had a car hooked up and off the ground, said Nevada County Sheriff Keith Royal. A man identified as Nolan Russell Frame, 37, saw them take his car, reportedly a Ford Focus, and allegedly came out with a gun. Frame held it to the driver's temple and told him to drop the car, Royal said. Victim left the scene and called 911. Frame was arrested on suspicion of robbery, assault with a firearm, and brandishing a firearm, and was being held in the county jail in lieu of a $100,000 bail. According to the court records, he has a prior conviction for assault with a deadly weapon dating back to 2011. That's it today. Have a good weekend.
Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon, I could go to space. With the air like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Grass Valley Television brings you local and world news, and we broadcast our 30-minute show 6 times a day on NCTV, Public Access, Comcast Cable, Channel 11 and 18. Also, we're on Sudden Link, Channel 16 and 18. We have 3 amazing series: Music, a 30-minute weekly show that airs 4 times a week, and Pride, Integrity, Guts, and Service, hosted by Sheriff Keith Royal and me on a bi-monthly series, plays 4 times a week. We're your community media, and if you have a business and would like to underwrite our shows, we offer almost 200 30-second spots a month on Comcast and Sudden Link. We also stream live on NevadaCountyTV.org and video on demand there, and our own websites, GVTV.org and GrassValleyTelevision.com. We also post to several Facebook pages and YouTube, Vimeo, Blip.tv, and many other sites on the web where we mirror our shows. We provide 30-second spots and a 60-second spot for you to embed on your webpage or whatever you want to do with it. For more information, you can call us at 362-8889 or email grassvalleytelevision@gmail.com. We will be happy to explain how your support of us will help us.